Do you ever look around and think, wait, how did I even get here? After literally years of working towards having something like this in my life, I've started to realize that I don't even know what I actually want out of my life, and over the past 4 years have felt increasingly more and more aware of when my life doesn't feel like mine. This all started 4 years ago when I first quit my 9-to-5 corporate job, and it was very apparent to me at that point that my life did not feel like mine and I was extremely unhappy in my life. Now it's a much more subtle type of feeling, and honestly, if it wasn't for the huge life change I went through 4 years ago when I quit my job, I don't think I would even be aware of it. But as we prepared to downsize, move out of this apartment that would have been my dream apartment a few years ago, I've really been reflecting on this feeling and what it really means to live a life that feels like yours or feels aligned with what you actually want, because it's honestly way more complex than I ever thought. In college, I worked so hard to get the secure job, the job that would make me a ton of money right after graduating. I dreamed of living in a high-rise in a big city, and I had all of that. I moved to DC right after college, I married my best friend, and we were living in what felt like the coolest apartment ever. But very quickly, I became super disconnected from this life that I had created for multiple reasons. Number one, because I had not built this life for me. I had built this life for my family. I had a goal of wanting to make enough money so that I could help my mom retire, so I could support my nephews, so I could support my sister when she got out of jail. But all of this created this internal pressure inside myself that I wasn't even initially aware of. I thought I was doing all of these things out of just like the goodness of my heart, which I still believe I was. But deep down, I know now that a lot of it was coming from this expectation I had put on myself to be able to support them and to make the most out of the skills that I had and the brain that I was given. And I felt like by not utilizing it, I was wasting something and not being grateful for the capabilities that I had. And honestly, it took quite a while of me literally living in that life to realize that I was so unhappy because I didn't even actually want this in the first place. I had combined what society told me I should want and what social media told me I should want with the expectations that I had put on myself for what I needed to do for my family, and somehow became caught in and stuck in this life that I never wanted in the first place. It's crazy to look back at all these versions of ourselves and so obviously notice how unaligned we were living with our true selves back in that time period. I had been doing so many things for other people in my past, and it took literally quitting my job and making such a drastic life change to actually start to change that. But even after I changed that, to this day, I still feel like I continuously create my life around things that have nothing to do with me and what I actually want. Even building this business, which I am so happy and grateful to have, I noticed how when I started out, I had focused the building period of my business and what I wanted my business to be centered around on, again, these expectations I had set for myself and what I needed to provide for my family. Once I realized, well, I didn't have the corporate job that was supposed to pay super well anymore, I had a new goal in mind of how I would support my family, which was by creating jobs for my family. At one point, I had a plan to map my business around my mom's skills and what her career has been about so that I could hire her in retirement and let her work part-time. I continuously tried to scale my business way too early when I was not ready and had no clue what I was doing, just so that when my sister got out of prison, I could give her a job. I have to continuously ask myself to this day, on honestly a weekly basis, who am I building this business for? Because if it's not for me, then it is not going to be sustainable for me. Because this isn't just about doing what you want to do and having this like selfish take on life. This is about creating a life that you will be able to continuously show up for. Because if you can't continuously show up in your life, then there's really no use in creating it around other people and what they expect from you or want from you, because you literally won't be actively living it. The thing is, once you realize this about your life and you start to look at things from a different lens of, do I actually want this for me, or is it for someone else, or is it for society? It doesn't immediately just change. You don't suddenly start making decisions for yourself. You don't suddenly know exactly what you want. For me, there was quite a bit of grieving. There was a period of loss, of letting go that honestly I'm still going through now, because now I'm self-aware of the fact that I lived so much of my life under this external pressure from just what I went through growing up. And some days I wish I could go back and completely change the way I was looking at things so that I could make decisions from the perspective and the knowledge I have now. But then on other days, I'm very grateful because I know that without all of that and that journey that I went through, I would not be here today. And I don't know if I honestly would have the strength and the ability to continuously push and build my business despite all of the health stuff that's come up in my life in the past few years. And it's wild to me that I am turning 28 in just a few months, and my entire life I said that I wanted to have kids at 28. And now kids are like the last thing on my mind. We are packing up this place and downsizing as much as we possibly can, not just because we are moving into a smaller apartment, because my husband joined my business and quit his job and changed his career path recently, but also because we're planning to hopefully go to Japan for 6 months in 2026, or at least like start the 6 months in 2026. And I literally never would have expected this for myself. Even just 2 years ago, I wouldn't have expected this for myself. So it just goes to show that sometimes you just have to be open to receiving whatever comes your way and open to changing your path and changing your plan. And I found that once I've accepted that and let go of this like idealized viewpoint of what my life would look like and this structured set exact plan, and thinking that if I didn't hit those points, then I would be letting people down and not meeting these expectations. When I started just letting all of that go, I've become so much happier and more satisfied with my life. And I felt like this gap between where my life currently is, like what my life literally is, and what I want my life to be or how I expect my life to go is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And not only is it getting smaller, but what I want my life to be is actually aligned with what I want. It's not what someone else wants my life to be. So as that gap gets smaller and I get closer and closer to living within my viewpoint of my idealized life, I just have become so much happier, so much more calm. And this big new change that we're going through now, this new shift in direction, is just another big step towards shortening that gap, shortening that distance between what I want my life to be and what it truly is. So the biggest difference between now and back when I quit my job is this huge change, this like unraveling of what I was trying to create out of my life and what I actually wanted my life to be, and recognizing the discrepancy in the two is that now it is on purpose. I am aware of the fact that we are making this change. And although there's still some components of those external factors and expectations I was putting on myself, this is the donate box, by the way. I am actively choosing to make these changes, and I'm aware of making these changes, which is a much easier transition to go through. Letting go of wanting to be a mom at 28, letting go of thinking I would have everything together at this stage in my life. All of that is okay. I've accepted it. I'm okay with it. And it's a whole different thing than shutting down and having to quit everything you're doing because you are literally so miserable and so misaligned that your entire health is falling apart and you're crying all the time and miserable and not even able to live a happy life. So just know that it's okay to let go. You don't need to be everything to everyone. And it is never too late to move towards a dream that you've considered unrealistic or silly, or even just something you thought you were too old for now. And also, it's okay to downsize, it's okay to rent, it's okay to wait to have kids, it's okay to have kids now, even if people tell you you're too young, or to never have them. You get to make that choice. And that is the beautiful part of letting go of everyone else's expectations and finally starting to live in alignment with your own. This is just the first of a couple of videos I have coming out soon, chatting a bit more honestly about what I've been going through and sharing more of the internal side of all of the things I've been talking about on this channel for years. So make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified of the next video when it comes out. And also I'm going to be sharing a lot of more of my journal thoughts and reflections on, again, some of the things I'm sharing in this video and the future ones in my email newsletter. So make sure to subscribe down to that in the link in the description if you aren't already, so that you don't miss any of those. But that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.